What's up, guys? Sean from Invest to Live here. So thanks for jumping in. We've got some somewhat breaking news on Tesla shares, and Elon. I don't think anyone's going to be too surprised here. So I'm going to jump right in. But please, we always appreciate a like on the video. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so. We do try to provide a lot of good advice across a number of economic and equity-focused areas. So without further ado, let's jump right in. We just heard this morning from Elon Musk that he believes he has sold enough stock and will not be selling any more. He went on also further to really go hard on the fact that California is essentially overtaxing him, overtaxing their people, doesn't feel like it's a land of opportunity, etc. But in a nutshell, I think this is a big piece of news for holders of the stock or for those who might want to get in it. And again, this isn't financial advice, just what's going on. What we know is that Musk has sold now another 583 plus thousand shares, bringing the total number of shares he's offloaded to about 13.5 million, which represents somewhere in the range of about 80% of what he planned to sell in the first place. And this is a quote from Elon directly. I sold enough stock to get to around 10% plus the option exercise stuff. And I tried to be extremely literal here. And he had had this conversation with the Babylon Bee, which is sort of a funny satirical type website. And, he went on to basically say, like, look, 8.06 million of those shares of the 13.5 were sold to pay taxes related to his options exercise. I'm just going to take a pause there for a second because that's stunning. As we have this constant debate about wealth and taxes and unfair, more than 50% of what he sold is now going to pay taxes. That's wild. So just keep that in mind. And I think that this is the key, right? Whether or not we're going to comment on California and the tax situation or whatever the case is, this is a good sign in general for Tesla stock. We've got some granularity in here. Jeffrey Dad in the comments, welcome. I just read the same thing. He's going to pay some record-breaking tax dollars here. The question really remains now, what does this mean for Tesla stock? Are we going to start to see it go back up again, knowing that that selling pressure is off? I think the better question is, what is he going to do with some of these proceeds? We know he's paying over 50% from the tax perspective, but I think what's going to be particularly interesting is, what is he doing with these proceeds? We know he's out of California and he's in Texas. We know that Tesla in general is delivering. We know that he's gone to war with Senator Karen, also known as Elizabeth Warren, who's here in Massachusetts, where I'm located, and seems to be driving everyone crazy here too. I think this is going to be a really interesting moment to see what happens with Tesla if we're going to get some sort of price activity here. I'm pulling up actually the most recent price I can get here. I just want to see what's going on as I'm taping this. So Tesla's up. Wow, look at that. Almost 7.25%, up almost $70 today. $1,006.46 at the time that I'm looking at it right now. So this is really interesting. I think that this is the stability and maybe a good moment for the stock to have Elon with a little bit less ownership, maybe get somewhat of a break of the constant negative political news on him. But what I think is going to be interesting and what I think the long-term play for me here is, and again, I don't know anyone else's situation or financial well-being or cash flow or anything else. Tesla's already a dominant player with a dominant position. No one else is doing it the way they do. They have integrated infrastructure vertically and horizontally, from deliveries to distribution to manufacturing and building. And I think the supply chain issues they have under control from their scale as well. So it's going to be really interesting here to see, was this just a blip on the radar and now we're done with it? Or is there going to be some issues coming down the pipe? What I think is going to have to be addressed, and I think we're going to see it in some interesting ways. We saw President Biden recently talking about the EVs with General Motors, which was frankly kind of outrageous, if I'm being honest about it. Not politically, but just to pinpoint that GM, who hasn't done anything, frankly, in this space, as being like a great leader or something. I think that's total insanity. So we've got this sort of interesting conundrum of sort of our more liberal or left-leaning politicians backing what seems to be funny. We've got Warren, who's basically going against Elon, which is funny because he's doing a lot of this stuff that the left wants done, right? From the climate perspective, from building efficient vehicles, etc. We've even got Biden as well, who instead of going and pushing Tesla and thanking Elon for sort of building that EV model that can scale, he seems to be focusing on GM, which, as we know, is really a legacy drain, essentially. And you know who sits in the middle of all of this is Ford, who's just out there with tons of demand for the F1 Lightning, for the Mach Mustang, which is all electric. I have an F-150. It is not a Lightning, but I will tell you, when it's time to think about getting something new, I'm probably going to be looking at that as well. Frankly, I have no interest in GM's electric vehicles whatsoever. And I'm pretty big. I know you can't tell on camera, so I don't really fit too comfortably in some of the Teslas either. So I think it's going to be interesting to see just what happens. Frankly, I'm watching this as a moment in time where Elon has maybe given himself some ammunition here to say, I've paid the biggest tax bill of all time. Let's stop focusing on my worth and what I pay. Let's focus back on the company, what the company's doing. I think leaving California is going to put a big gap there as well. I think that it's time for us to start to separate Elon Musk, his wealth, his taxes, his ownership and look at Tesla as a company, a car manufacturer, a distributor, and then all those other things that they are as well. And I think that's where the analysis has to happen in the future here. And from the comments again, Marcus over at Jeffrey Dad, the Ford Rivian collaboration did crash. You know, it's funny though. I personally was never that interested, or I sort of didn't care about Rivian, to be perfectly frank. I didn't see that as something I really care about. I really was more focused on like what they're doing from their traditional vehicles, right? Like I think the F-150 being the most popular light pickup truck on the road and seeing unbelievable demand that they can't actually even fulfill for it. I think that's pretty cool. And the fact that they're leveraging more aluminum to get a lighter weight vehicle but maintain the strength is a good sign. I'll just comment since we're talking about Ford. Absolutely not financial advice what I'm about to say. I really don't think people should play with derivatives if they don't know what they're doing. But I did pick up very long-term leaps in Ford, and it was based 100% in what I see as a good future for Ford in and around the electric vehicle space, but especially with light pickup trucks. I think it's going to be huge. Yeah, and you know what? I'll call it out too. I suppose I was probably a little all on the left there a bit too, but I think on the right as well, on both extremes politically, when it comes to like what we're trying to do and what we're trying to get done, you just like you know, like, let's recognize that companies are trying to do good things. I think that's important to understand that this will generate wealth at the top for the people who are starting these companies. But for what it matters, I think this is a great moment in time to separate the conversation of Elon doesn't do the right things or pay his fair share or whatever the case is. Even if you love the guy, hate the company, hate the cars, I don't, whatever. It's not the point. The point is, in the market right now, today, for investors and traders, we're seeing the stock up significantly off of the news that Elon's not going to keep selling his shares. And I think that this is going to create some stability consolidation. I think we're ultimately still going to be looking at growth in Tesla. When I analyze a company, I don't do it off the cuff like I'm doing here. I really spend the time to understand everything up and down the supply chain, complete understanding of the horizontal distribution of products, from financing to opportunities to backlogs to build times. So, it's important as you're getting into these companies and these stocks to really do that. It's funny. I actually, Marcus, since you're listening and I listen to your channel quite a bit, I'm thinking about maybe kicking off some sort of like my approach to analysis, and I'll be curious to see, what companies would be interested in. What would be an interesting company to take? It could be something completely off the radar, something small, something off the cuff. I do a lot of research generally in my full-time living, which is in the analytics space. So really getting to the numbers, getting to the details is something I like to do. So with that, that's the breaking news. I know we got a little bit off track today, but Elon's done selling shares. He's taking that money and paying a lot of taxes with it. I think this creates a little bit of now a brick wall between Elon and the perceived issues politically and Tesla and what they're trying to accomplish as a company, building and expanding. So with that, thanks so much for watching. Always appreciate the comments. Always appreciate everyone who tunes in. Thanks so much. Have a great day. And Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays if you don't see me until then. So thanks so much, everybody. Have a good one.